To NFL HQ as we recap Week 5, head into Week 6. As always, we have our gentleman from Las Vegas, AC, and from Paradise, Brandon. From Omaha, Nebraska, we have Dave, and I am the avatar from Canada, Dan Rudd, 88.
Hey everybody,
we'll just
good looking out there.
Jump right into it. We're going to go right into home field advantage as we love talking about the teams that we represent in the NFL. We'll just go very quickly. AC, as you can tell, Dolphins fan, very happy after this week. Brandon, probably not too excited about his Minnesota Vikings. Dave's Jacksonville, a.k.a. London Jaguars. He's probably got a lot of things to talk about. But, of course, I am the long-suffering Dallas Cowboys fan. And today, this is more of a therapy Tuesday for me, as I'm sure all of you have seen, because they're America's team and everybody loves to hate us. The nice 42-10 drubbing at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. To be fair, this is one of the only games I got to watch this week because I had to work Sunday afternoon, so I missed most of the games. So I was very excited. I waited all day for Sunday night, and it did not take long for my hopes to be dashed. Now, I will say the Cowboys play with my emotions every single time. It seems like even though they're down, they're not out. But at the end of the day, they got thoroughly drubbed by the 49ers. The third straight time we have lost to the 49ers. Twice in the playoffs the last 2 years. We've been eliminated by the 49ers. So I really don't have much to say about the Cowboys. I'm really more here. Please, any single one of you, give me some words of encouragement. What can I look forward to? Are the Dallas Cowboys really a contender in the NFC, or are they just content to be ousted in the first or second round, much like the last 2 years? So I'll start with maybe AC. Give me some encouraging words about my Dallas Cowboys.
First of all, let's say hello to our friend and fan friend of the show, Michael Pico, and
what's up, Michael?
Another
What's up, Michael?
Person, yeah. This week's conversation: injuries. You're damn right.
Well, we're going to talk about a few of those.
Talk about a few of those. Yeah. Stick around and tell you.
It was a rough week for us.
And if you can, Michael, share the show on the thread there, so the boys know that we're on. I didn't really have time to share it, so let them know. I was like, we'll be on in 2 minutes, but anyway. So, words of encouragement for your team.
Yeah, or just bury the hole deeper for us. Whatever you saw that can maybe
comes to mind
break
is
me out of the funk.
Dak is already practicing his postseason face on the sideline, which was nice to see. And look, you have my running back, Tony Pollard, which is already you have to succeed because I'm going to win my fantasy football team.
Maybe
I am. Well, look. You guys are always there. You guys have good coaching, even though I think it's just a little bit, on the older side of how you are supposed to look at the football game, the game of football this time of life. However, you guys are always in the contention. Who do you guys play outside the NFC East? You guys, which division are you playing?
The NFC West. They're playing the NFC South.
AFC East. No, we're playing the NFC West. NFC West, AFC East.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah, you get to see the Dolphins. How about that? I don't have anything right now. It's a little bit too early, but look, buck up, Tamp. Everything's gonna be fine. And I am sorry that your night was ruined because I like to enjoy football.
That's okay. I had Monday to process it, so like today, Tuesday, it's good to have a day removed from it. Well, as you said, I do have to play your Miami Dolphins coming up later in the season. Misery loves company. We'll get to talk about your Minnesota Vikings in a second, Brandon. But just quickly, a word on my Cowboys, if anything. Or what did you take away from 49ers Cowboys?
Two things. One is no major injuries, right? And so, the worst is you lose and then you lose someone. So you got out of kind of healthy. So, it's that's one good thing. And then second, it's week 5. And so the one thing I would say about the Niners is that as good as they are, this team doesn't go. Somebody's gonna get hurt on that roster, man. So I'll be damned if I see that the way they are cooking right now, and the way Shanahan plays, and if they're all healthy in January, I'd be surprised. So who knows? You might take this team on, and hopefully some of those guys are kind of banged up, and you're able to get them at a weaker point. But if they're fully healthy, they're gonna pleasantly beat you guys. But
right, well, what was the second point there?
It was only and you guys were healthy. No major injuries. Nothing got hurt on your end. Just you take the whooping and just keep moving.
It was a great team, and I know it sucks to hear that, but it was a great team. If it wasn't the Denver Broncos, if it would have been that,
Yeah, it wasn't the Arizona Cardinals of 2 weeks ago. Dave, did you happen to watch my Cowboys get thumped? And anything you think going forward that could help or hurt us?
I had it on the side because I had interest in watching I always like watching the Cowboys lose. I'm sorry, I really
No,
do.
that's perfectly fine. I understand.
We were doing other things, but I was watching the Cowboys lose, and of course we had Kittle on our fantasy team, so I was watching him. He got a hat trick.
You were the only one watching
touchdowns.
him. The Cowboys defense is not watching him.
They weren't. 49ers look good. And 49ers are probably the main team that really, I don't see a fault with them. I mean, every week they show up and they just smash mouth, run it down your throat with a running back, and just Kittle's just fighting through people. The 49ers look good. The 49ers are the team to beat. Michael just asked, chances 49ers go undefeated. No, they're not going to do that. That's just nobody in our lifetime. Nobody's going to do that. But
I'll say this, Dave, just very quickly to Michael's point. Only two teams have the potential to go undefeated. Those are the Eagles and the 49ers.
That's true.
So there is a chance.
It's not
no chance. But
did you say two teams have been undefeated?
No, right now have the chance to go undefeated
only two teams have a chance.
this year. But words of encouragement, dude. It's not every week, Dan Rod, that you're not going to be able to watch the fourth quarter. So they're going to stick in it. That was a rough game for you, dude. What time did you shut it off? That's what I want to know. Come on.
I hate to admit this, but I will admit this. I didn't shut it off, but I did fall asleep. I fell asleep right after Dak threw the first INT. So when I woke up and found out he threw 3 INTs, I was like, "Oh, this went from bad to worse." But I understand what happened. He was pressing. So obviously, being a Cowboys fan, I'm talking about my Cowboys. But a lot of you have mentioned this 49er team looks great. Just a little caveat. I think it's week 10, 11, 12, week 13. 49ers will take on the Philadelphia Eagles at Philadelphia. So if they're both unbeaten by then, potentially only one unbeaten team after that. But yes, I think the 49ers look like they are the team to beat. They have not put together a game where you can say that they haven't looked like a complete team. They have probably been the most complete team throughout. And I think you hear it a lot now. The biggest question is Brock Purdy a legitimate MVP candidate? That's come up. Can Brock Purdy lead this team? He has never lost at the start of the regular season. He's never lost a game where he's played the first 3 quarters and things like that. So we'll just go outside the lines here of home field advantage just very, very quickly, but maybe just a thought or two. We'll start with UAC on Brock Purdy, and can he lead the 49ers to the promises?
Let's see. I mean, he did kick off his whole career against my Dolphins in my face when I was visiting San Francisco. Garoppolo went down, and it was the start of something amazing. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's undefeated when he's under center.
Yeah. His only loss was in the NFC Championship game a year ago, a game he did not technically finish because he had that elbow injury and could not throw a football.
Got it. So regular season, he's undefeated. So it's very hard to do. You play some unbelievable teams down the stretch there, as I was just showing. So where would you say, let's go ahead and put that up on the screen again. Where would you say that their loss comes? We'll get rid of this.
It's a tough one.
I mean, realistically.
At Jacksonville, coming off a bye, you never know. But I think we're just biased because, Dave's a Jaguars fan. Philadelphia will be a tough one. I think 2 out of 3 weeks against Seattle could be interesting. And you never know. These teams coming late into the season, the last week against the Rams. But it's hard to say. But who knows? They could lay an egg this week at Cleveland. Cleveland coming off a bye, has a week to prepare for the 49ers.
Yep.
And Cleveland has potentially one of the best defense. We all thought this was the hard part for me with Dallas. Everyone thought Dallas' defense was great. Dallas' defense played terribly. The offense was not great, but the defense didn't show up. And so now taking on a Cleveland Browns team this week, who a lot of people believe are a top 5, if not a top 3 defense in the NFL, we will see what this defense can do against a very sort of explosive but also controlled 49ers offense. Dave, just very quickly, Brock Purdy, any thoughts on this young quarterback on the 49ers?
The guy's good. He's not as flashy as some of the quarterbacks that we have. He's not necessarily a Patrick Mahomes or even a Trevor Lawrence or, the quarterbacks that we have, but he's a winner. He's a leader. Is he the leader in the locker room? I don't know. I don't know the guys. The leader off the field, who knows? That much I don't know, but he's winning games until he He's got the potential. They're not going to go undefeated though. They're not going to go undefeated, but he can definitely take them and win a Super Bowl. Absolutely can.
I see a couple losses on the schedule, just kind of way it's in there. One I see is the off the bat. I see the Jacksonville loss, and just because
that's the one I was.
10 o'clock in the morning,
yep.
West Coast, East Coast, and so there. And usually a lot of times too, that's when you're going to get your losses. When I always look to see, okay, when does this West Coast team travel to the East, and is it an early game or a late game? It's an early game. Yep. They're going to be traveling. I got to see that kind of being a tough game for them. And then, again, always a divisional rival. I'm going to probably choose at Seattle, probably would be one. Seattle usually gives them fits. Not so much with Geno, but I know if Russell was there, they used to always kind of beat the Niners up. And so I can see Pete Carroll and them putting something together. And then even maybe the Cincinnati game as well, too. I think because I think you can get to the 49ers in the back secondary half. And if you can throw the ball deep and then get to Jamar and T. Higgins, I think that could be a game also on the 29th. So I only see about 2 or 3 losses, but it's somewhere in there I think you're going to give.
Don't sleep on the Tampa Bay game. Baker Mayfield's playing
great. Hey, we'll see where Mike Evans' health. And then they just don't run the ball enough to keep him. That's the scary part. And then you have Bosa just chasing down Baker. And he's been doing that since he was in Ohio State.
I think Dan's right. I think the Cleveland game might be the trap game because everything
coming off that big emotion on Sunday night against the Cowboys. But yeah, Deshaun Watson is a big question mark. But speaking of a quarterback, speaking of quarterback that you probably watch a lot, Brandon, Kirk Cousins. How do you see Kirk Cousins compare to Brock Purdy? Do you see any similarities between those two? And if you had a choice right now, would you want Brock Purdy on your franchise? And would he be doing any better than Kirk Cousins?
No, you wouldn't. It's one thing. It's like it's the same thing with Jimmy G. Do I get Nick Bosa, Debo, and Kittle when he comes? He'd be doing worse
than Kyle Shanahan,
right? Honest truth is speaking from the Vikings, unfortunate loss. Actually, you know what? Look, we lost Justin Jefferson. Teams in the tailspin. Just finish it off and start losing games. Don't win me 6 games and give me the 8th pick overall.
What?
I just can't do it. We're
Dolphin special, always in the middle.
We're going nowhere fast. Like you got a quarterback on his last year of the contract. You got a young defense that just got flipped over, and basically it's either we're gonna be, if we don't get a star quarterback in the draft, then we're unfortunately going to be one of those guys getting those retreads, like signing the 1 to 2 year Carson Wentz's or Josh, like you get someone just
the Matt Ryans on the tail end, the Phillip Rivers. Yeah. So you get misery loves company. And like I said, so 27-20, the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions, come into Minnesota. And unfortunately, they hand your Vikings a 4th loss on the season. And unlike last year, another 4th loss within 1 score. But you kind of touched on it a bit. But go ahead, break down your Vikings. Continue on your home field advantage.
It looked like, first of all, they were just better. I like that we hung in. We got talent, so it's all, you're never going to get like smoked. But it keeps showing you that, hey, look at every time the 4th quarter comes around, you keep putting it in Cousins' hands because the running game doesn't really get anything. And you get yourself what it is, usually a bad pick or a fumble or something, and the game's lost. And so it's just kind of, we've had so many years with Cousins. Like it's not like 1 or 2 or 3. It's like 5 years now. It was fun. I have no regrets. It was, we got some great wins, some playoff runs, but that's it. Now it's time to just go, okay, look at, reset this thing. But to bring everybody back next year and think it's going to be different, I just can't see that happening. We got to basically start looking at what the future is, and the future is this draft. And so we got to get somewhere in there before the Bears end up getting them or something.
Who's there for you? Who's the apple of your eye?
Everybody wants Williamson, but I'll even take a Derek May. The kid from Washington's kind of thing. Just get someone young. It's just. And you got to remember, like when I was growing up in the '90s, that's all Minnesota's. And Minnesota's always been like this. We've always been the retread place. It's like Warren Moon to Brad Johnson to Randall Cunningham to Jeff George. And then we get Culpepper. And then once we lose Culpepper, and then we go back into the wells of, Sam Bradford's and Case Keenum's, and now in Kirk Cousins. And it's like, guys, let's just go get a young guy we can build up instead of getting someone else's garbage and turning them into something.
We're looking at the Vikings schedule right now. I think the one thing we've always said with your team, even though 1-4, they haven't played a divisional game yet. So they have the Bears coming up this week. the Bears coming off their first one of the season. This will be an interesting one in Chicago. Obviously, you have the Detroit Lions, 2 of your last 3 games of the season. Will they mean something or will they not? But it sounds like you're not necessarily in the same place I am, but your Vikings at 1-4, a much different field than last year. One last thought kind of for me on this one, and much like I focus more on the 49ers and my loss to the Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs come into Minnesota, only win 27-20. We say only because the Kansas City Chiefs are supposed to be one of the class teams of the NFL, especially of the AFC. And it just seems like, unlike a 49ers team that just comes in and dominates week after week, the Chiefs just find a way to win every single week. And that turf monster in Minnesota tried to take down Travis Kelce. The Taylor Swift curse tried to become a real thing. He rolled an ankle, a non-contact injury. If you saw the highlight, didn't look good. He came back. He did score a touchdown, but unfortunately, that turf monster also got Justin Jefferson. And we'll have more on his status coming up in boo-hoos and boo-boos, or catastrophic injuries, however you want to call it, coming up in a little bit. But AC or Dave, any words of encouragement for the Minnesota Vikings? Or are we just excited for Lizzo and her new man on the Minnesota Vikings, who's probably not there anymore?
Is this a must-win game for you?
You know what? I think if they lose, then I think the fire sale comes out. Let me try to hopefully, Yeah, look at it's just look at Jefferson getting hurt. Like, I'm always like, hey, look, I'm always happy if my team makes the playoffs. Like, I don't even think Super Bowl. I'm just like, hey, man, let me watch a game in January. This looks like, hey, man, do not do something stupid like start winning those last end of games. And and the sad part is our division's so bad and the conference is kind of weak where it's like I don't know if we can lose that many games. The Broncos are just on a tailspin where I think they're definitely going to get the first pick overall. But hey, man, if we can start losing some of these Bears games in Atlanta, maybe we can get to maybe 3-4 wins. Maybe we have a chance, and then we give up a draft pick to move up to number 1.
Let's pull it out this week, says Christy Levitt.
Christy, that is Christy and Will. Will, they are huge Chicago Bears fans. So thanks for showing up to NFL HQ. I just want to say hello.
Go Bears.
Yeah.
You guys think you already got your quarterback?
Nah,
they're gonna get rid of Justin Fields too.
Oh, no.
You laid it on. You said that so like majestically.
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, they're just gonna blow up their team.
Yeah, no, they've had enough of that.
So fire sale. Is you get rid of your quarterback? Does he get traded?
Yeah.
Do we trade him like now? I mean, within the next few before the trade deadline.
Either you get a 5th or a 6th round draft pick from him now. You lose him for nothing next year. You're not. There's no way he gets another contract from the Minnesota Vikings next year. He's already on a second one. Yeah. To bring him back and to
pay so much money in the NFL.
He should have been gone already.
Money.
Yeah, but at the time there really wasn't good back. Like when I think he re-signed the year before O'Connell got there, and so he was still with Zimmer, and so they were like there was really no quarterbacks at the time. If there wasn't a good draft, then I'd be like, hey, bring him back because I don't, you don't want to get just garbage. But this is a great draft to get the number 1 pick. This is
so that's a perfect segue, not to cut you off, Brandon, but I'm going to do it. So you're looking for the number 1 quarterback overall. Well, there's a team that's out there in Duval County that has number 1 pick overall at quarterback. That is the one and only Trevor Lawrence. Now, they haven't played in Jacksonville in 2 weeks, but they're coming back home with 2 straight victories in London. We mentioned last week they're 1-0 in Tottenham. They're now 2-0 in Tottenham. They have beat the Buffalo Bills twice in London. Buffalo Bills 0-2 all-time in London. Let's bring some positivity to home field advantage. Dave, talk about your Jacksonville Jaguars and the big victory de facto on the road this week, 25-20 over the Buffalo Bills.
On the road, my ass. And they're not coming back home. They've been at home for the last 2 weeks in London, in their second home. Now, granted, I think they're 7-5 or something all time, but they always play
6-5.
good
We won't
there.
give an extra win, but never mind.
No, after that Buffalo win, I'm pretty sure they got one more.
It's okay, Dave. Okay.
You can look it up. It doesn't matter. They always play good there, whether they win every single time or not. There's 3 things that have to do with this win. Number 1, they always play good in London. Number 2, there's a specific spot I stand in my kitchen that if I don't move from there and I keep rubbing my hands together like this, they pull the game out somehow.
Like a fly.
And AC.
Wait, how are your hands again?
Dude, I'm just like this the whole time. AC, I can't give you credit for the number 3. Number 3 is Trevor Lawrence. The guy still, don't get me wrong, into the third quarter, there was a couple different fumbles where I'm like, oh, we're going to give this game up. But they'll drive all the way down the field and then fumble it and screw up somehow. all the way into literally the last 3 minutes of this game had me. I mean, we were ahead. We were ahead the whole time, but the last 3 minutes of this game had me just. I was driving myself. I was driving myself nuts because we're up. We've got 18 to whatever the score was, and then they come back, and then we score, and then they come back, and it was just dry. I was literally standing there watching until the clock went to 0-0-0. My wife's like, "They don't even have the ball. What are you doing?" I was like, "I have to see it go to zeros. I have to see it go to zeros." It was a fun game to watch. From my perspective, because we won, I was worried about it. The way, no offense, AC, the week before they handled your Dolphins, I mean, the AFC has got a bunch of really good teams that anybody could be up there. There's about 5 or 6 good teams that really have a legitimate chance at making the definitely the playoff, but making a Super Bowl run. And our teams are not trying to jinx it, but there are 2 of them. So.
Just very quickly, Dave, obviously Travis Etienne Jr., 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Talk a little bit about his performance. And also your defense held the Buffalo Bills. And this is my biggest criticism of Buffalo every time. 29 yards total rushing as a team. Josh Allen had most of those. What did your defense do to shut down the Bills' rushing attack? And talk about Travis Etienne and how successful he was. And maybe you found, a good rusher in him.
Well, you know what? I like their backup as well. I like Tank. But Etienne, the fact that Tank can come in there on a 3rd down and give Travis Etienne that rest, I tell you what, he busted a couple of those runs that I didn't think he was going anywhere. That part's good, but the fact that they can spread the ball around. And on offense, when they throw Ridley that out route, and he's got that out route down. I mean, it's like 8 yards to him, and instead of going right out of bounds, he'll turn around and try and come back in. That 3rd down play in the 4th quarter, which was, I don't know, it was a 3rd and 4, and that was literally Trevor Lawrence calling an audible on that to throw it over the top to Ridley. That's not usually the out route he runs, but you run that out route 8 times in a row. Of course, he's going to fake it and go up over the top and get that. Your second part of the question, what does our defense do? You know what? Knock on wood, the defense is still where I'm kind of worried. But, Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime is good in my book every time we go there. So every time not every time. Last 2 years we played him. That's been good. There wasn't a lot of sacks this time. You're right. Like you said, it was more the running game. But so.
Yeah, concerning stat, no sacks for your defense against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, their defense, they had a good day against the Dolphins a week ago. 5 sacks on Trevor Lawrence. Still got to clean that up. They come home. So, Dave, I guess you're excited a local kickoff time around your time, noon, as opposed to those 8:30 a.m. kickoffs the last 2 weeks. The Colts will go take on the Jaguars in Duval County. That's a 1 o'clock Eastern for me. AC, I don't know if you watched a lot of this game being up very early, 6:30 local time for you on the West Coast. But obviously this Bills team that, for lack of a better word, shellacked your Miami Dolphins a week ago. Maybe embarrassed is too strong of a word. But what did you see from this Bills team this week that looked different from the team that played your Dolphins a week ago?
They looked tired. They looked like they were rode hard and put away wet. They looked like they had. It wasn't easy to beat us. I just want to put that out there as well. Like they didn't get we didn't get broncoed. You know what I mean? So they had to actually play some good football. They had to think and make
get broncoed.
Absolute, stellar place to do that on defense and on offense. I give them all the credit in the world. I'll tell you that they looked like they traveled across the pond. They looked like they were displaced. They didn't look oriented in the game plan, and everybody seemed to be a little lackadaisical. They couldn't stop the run, and it was rough. Etienne had a day. I have Trevor Lawrence and Etienne on 2 different leagues, but I have Etienne and Calvin in the same league. So it's ballsy for me to start the same wide receiver, the same running back. That's usually a Cardinal. Right? However, these guys are breaking that mold. They're doing great. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I have your running back and your quarterback on my leagues. So anyway, go on. But we can't. I heard so many times they look jet lagged. I did hear that. You know what? Let me hear.
And I told you that Tuesday.
You're right, but it's not. Okay, maybe that had something to do with it. Jags have been there for a week, and so they're all rested up. They've seen all the sights, whatever. Jet lagged is not the reason. The Jets are not that good. You guys know how I hate Jets.
The Bills also came in on Friday, which was kind of odd too. You never really come. Yeah, they came in a little late too, and off that high win. Every time you got the, Bills are those teams that get high wins, they have low lows. And then they lose their linebacker for the year, which has got to be a killer because this guy was having, some fumble types, that Milano kid. Yeah. So that usually takes the wind out of it. And so it kind of told me more about, I've seen the Bills have these games before, so that didn't really surprise me. It did show me that the Jags starting to put some wins together. They looked a little better. So I was more just impressed by them. And I think they match up a little well with the Jags match up well with the Bills, that different than the Dolphins do. I just like to see Trevor Lawrence kind of take that next step, and it kind of starts winning games and pushing the ball down the fourth.
We don't want to see your fumbles anymore because you're
no, I'm done with those.
Big,
yeah.
You're that big, and your hands are that big, and you got that length of hair. You can't be dropping the ball, baby. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that.
Usually by this year to next year,
drop it, boo boo.
Yeah.
No, it was nice to see
them. Though, and then they in the red zone, they do get plugged up a little bit. You like to see more touchdowns being put into that end zone. I kind of not as bad as the Cowboys, but it's like between the 20s, they're throwing, and then all of a sudden when it gets shrunk, it does get a little scary a little bit because they don't have that big receiver, like that big guy they throw up to. Calvin's kind of small, so is Christian Kirk.
Yep.
Except for Ingram, I think they don't really have that. They, maybe something down the line they look at is like getting that big kind of Michael Evans and receiver where Trevor could just throw it up. Trevor's tall, give it to some guy tall where he could just own that that middle of the field.
One of the main things you can't coach in the NFL is height. But Dave, I think congratulations, you beat the Buffalo Bills, one of these premier teams in the AFC. We talk about week 2 when you lost the Chiefs. I think we said that's a game your team has to win. So hopefully 2 wins in London, beating the Falcons and now the Bills. They can come home and build on that and continue to beat the upper echelon of teams. And I guess they kind of proved your point, if only for a few seconds, that you believe the AFC South is better than the AFC East in totality on your Fact or Fiction a week ago. But as much as AC probably enjoyed seeing the original opponent lose, the Buffalo Bills, so thank you to you and your Jaguars. I'm sure he was a big Jaguars fan this week. He is, of course, always a fan of the Miami Dolphins, and they had a get-right game this week. And I thank him for beating the divisional opponent in the Giants. But Miami come home, and they win 31-16, beating the New York Football Giants. Another injury in that one. Daniel Jones, the quarterback for the Giants, we'll talk about coming up. But AC, your Miami Dolphins come home, get a big win. How did it feel for you this Sunday?
It felt great, and I had my doubts about Achane doing his thing again and getting over 1.5 touchdowns. And that's my brain now thinking and betting, not the fact that I bet on it. But I really did. I didn't think that was going to happen again, and I was proved wrong. Some matchups don't work. That's why it worked against Denver. That's why it worked against to a certain extent Buffalo, because he did have a good game as well, even though we lost. It was encouraging to know that we have the number 1 rushing attack and the number 1 passing attack with the most yards, MVP candidate, number 1 in yards, number 1 in touchdowns, number 1 in pass efficiency and length of throw. So average throw. He's got that as well. So a lot of people didn't believe in him, and I want to tell you that I didn't believe in him, and I was wrong. I want to tell you that, and look what I've done to make up for this.
Oh man,
what?
I've spoken high amounts of bullshit about this guy. I'm going to spend the rest of the year apologizing as long as he wins, because I was wrong. He is the perfect quarterback for the system. The book is not always, you always can't judge a book by its cover just because Justin Herbert is 6'6" and looks like that, and he's the prototypical guy. Doesn't mean he should be the guy on your team, depending on your scheme. I did not see that, and if he wins me a Super Bowl, I will forever be groveling at his feet, and I will, so whatever it takes, Big Tua, whatever you need, buddy. Aside from Tua, I think we have Austin Jackson playing out of his mind. Just 2 offensive linemen that I did not like this year was Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. Both are playing great. They were exposed in the Bills game, but came back. Obviously, the Giants are not a great team, but we did take it 31-16. We should have been more. But next week we have no HN. Next week he's got a knee issue. We'll mention that during the injury segment. However, I'm super proud. I'm proud of Andrew Van Ginkel 43. He plays linebacker with the locks. He's like our sunshine, and he played great. Second quarterback, he got in Daniel's face. Daniel looked uncomfortable all day. It was just a hot, muggy day full of. They probably went out to have mojitos last Saturday night, and they woke up and they didn't realize, it's humid here. So they had a hell of a time catching up with our guys. Tyreek Hill, I think, was the fastest player in the NFL with that cross, that yak catch that he made when it went across the field. I think he went
whatever it was. He ran a lot faster than you're talking about. How fast he ran?
22. What?
He's faster than that.
You're talking about. How you not fast? Yeah, 22 miles per hour, something like that.
He was Micro Machine guy.
No, but he saw Achan get set another record for speed this year, and he's like, "Hold my Gatorade." And
hold my next catch I get. Could you imagine? That's a joke and everything, but could you imagine now you add a Chase Claypool to that stable of Ferraris, and you kind of bring this kid along. You don't have a Waddle by week 10, 11. You might not have a Tyreek, even though he's extremely, available for you. But any one of those guys can go down, as mentioned by River Craycraft and Ezukama. Those guys are down, so we had to make a trade for that. But could you imagine if they bring this kid along and they actually show him what it means to love football again? Let's see. 1 second, we have a message here. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming, Christy.
Good night, Will.
Christy,
Good night,
have
Christy.
a great night.
And,
so you mentioned they make the trade for Chase Claypool to get him from the Bears. He started his career in Pittsburgh. Started off as a rookie. It came out really well out of Notre Dame, and then he's kind of dropped off. So we'll see what they can get from the man that they nicknamed Mapletron, being a fellow Canadian, Chase Claypool. And I think Brandon talked about getting a bigger receiver in Jacksonville. I think that's a bigger receiver now you have in Miami, which is
motivating.
I don't know how many snaps he's going to get. He didn't like blocking on run plays. I don't think Mike McDaniel's going to be up for that. He's fifth on the depth chart behind Cedric, and he's still got Robbie Anderson in there.
I'll let you comment on this. But what if those stable of guys? I know Robbie Anderson's on the end, like almost a head case too, and now we have like 2 head cases, but very talented. Yeah. So if we can pull those guys along, Tyreek, Waddle, Cedric Wilson, all these guys can say, "Hey, football matters. You're a millionaire. Wake up." You know what I mean? Block on your blocking plays, and we'll get you the ball more often. This is what it's all about.
Those guys they didn't do it when they were starters. Now they're maybe 2 to 5 snaps a game at best. I just don't see where they get the. I think they're more insurance policies than anything, and
of course
they're not. I don't know.
Yep.
I guess it's more of a flyer kind of thing. And Dolphins have always done that before. Where they'll
7th round pick.
They'll pick up a guy just for. I don't, be surprised if they don't cut him in 3 weeks because he ain't doing what he's supposed to do, kind of thing. There's just no risk versus reward.
There's no risk on our part.
There's no risk on it, but I wouldn't expect anything from a Chase Claypool. He looked pretty much done.
Hey, this is your last chance. You're not going to go to a Cincinnati. You're not going to go to a Cleveland. You're not going to go. This is it. When you have, the reputation of not trying hard enough, not blocking, not being a part of the team, where you've been told get out of the. I don't even want him in the building. So once that happens,
that's when he was getting 40 to 35 snaps.
You're
who are you going to take? Who are you going to take off the field to put Chase Claypool?
No, these are. I'm not saying that he should start. What I'm saying is, you bring him along, and if any one of those guys go down, Waddle, week 11, week 12, something like that, you move everybody up, and you might have a 4th receiver there when you go 4 wide sets. What I'm saying is, maybe this can motivate these people. Can be like, hey, buddy, this is it. Like Chase, you're not your value is 0. You're on a potentially Super Bowl winning team. I think you should wake up, try hard. What do you need? The messed up part is that a head case comes to Miami, and guess what's in Miami? Everything.
Yeah,
you can possibly imagine. So,
what I took from the game was I thought they could have blew him out. I think they kind of played sloppy. There's a lot of turnovers. I thought Miami really could have put foot to neck. That could have been a 40-3 kind of a game. I didn't think really Giants had much. A lot of it was just turnovers backed by Tua, kind of, that some of the picks and stuff. And
they did have that 96.
Way better. You just see the talent level was just, there was no pressure of them losing. It was just they just kind of pulled away a little bit at the end. But even then, it was, the
96-yard return did scare me a bit. But that was a tip ball at the end zone. So that was a long.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. But there was nothing that the offense was doing to ever kind of. It was like total control the whole game. Yeah. We got this. And the only time they ever did anything was when the Dolphins kind of gave it up, right? And so it didn't really tell me much. It told me the Giants are bad and the Dolphins are good. The key thing is, when Dolphins are going to be playing some good teams coming up, Kansas City, Dallas, other things. Those are where we're going to see measuring sticks with this offense and measuring sticks with this team and too. And so I'd like, when these games when you start getting to the meat of the season, it's going to be fun to watch them. But bludgeoningly beaten on a horrible Giants team.
Right about that.
Jason Pinnock intercepts Tua Tagovailoa for the 102-yard interception late in the second quarter. The most surprising thing of all that speed on the field for the Dolphins, and nobody could catch him, which I guess is a better testament to the Giants blocking. If you watch some of the replays, Tyreek Hill tried his best to chase him down, but he was blocked by one of the other Giants defenders. So all that speed in the world could not get catch.
Did you guys see that the Tyreek one? He was going across to, I think it was the 60-yard catch, and then A-Chain was basically keeping up with him, but not really like putting on the afterburner. He was always jogging next to him. I implore anyone who likes speed to go see that. That was like watching two gazelles in the wild. It was amazing.
Oh man.
Yep. He was
they're just gonna blow those people off there. And they'll beat the Carolina. That game against Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. Oh man, that's gonna be a fun one. That's gonna be circle town with that one.
What's the game of the? As a Dolphins fan, I'd like to pose it for you guys, and again, rag on me or wish me ill, whatever you want to do. But what would you say are the trap games here coming up that we have to look forward to? So my heart won't be broken, and I know that I'm going to lose those games. What would you guys say are the winners and losers here?
Well, you have two very bad teams coming up on the schedule, Carolina and New England. I think you have to show that you are the class of those two games. You cannot have a stinker this week against Carolina, and you can't come off that big emotional game on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles and lay an egg against the Patriots. That's one that you cannot do. But then you have, these are almost trap games in between Kansas City and Philadelphia. Those are two tough ones. And then late in the season, Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo to end the season. Those are three games against three teams that might be fighting for playoff spots. It will be interesting where Miami sits. So I think, those last 3 weeks of the season will be very interesting to see where the Dolphins stack up.
Cold weather teams at the end. Yeah, you're totally right.
I only see about 4 losses on the schedule altogether. And so because you get Buffalo at home during the end of the season, I think that one you should get back. Baltimore has struggles altogether. There's this. And then when you get that nice chunk of Raider, Jet, Washington, Titans, Jet, my God, man. That should probably be clinching playoff time, kind of getting that, and even with the 3 games at the end, I'd be surprised they've already clinched playoff work by then.
Dave, what do you think?
Go ahead,
Dave. Trap game of those? I don't see any.
Dave just wants the Jaguars to take on the Dolphins in the playoffs, and that's all.
We'll go down and see it together. The Patriots are right after the Eagles. Because that's a game you should absolutely freaking win. And we'll talk about that when I tell you you're right about the coach later. Yeah. But that one, be careful with as far as a trap game goes. Coming off that Eagles win, exactly what Dan Rod said.
I see a trap game maybe too is Tennessee. Because Tennessee usually always plays stuff for some damn reason. I don't know what it is.
Tennessee, is that right?
Tennessee, I've watched Tennessee beat the Dolphins for some reason so maybe that team.
Well, Tannehill has our number,
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk more about them in Better Sweet because they keep breaking my heart when it comes to gambling. But as of right now, 5 weeks into the season, Miami leads their division at 4-1, so that was a big win for them. Jacksonville is division winner, and Brandon and I still in the doldrums of the NFC. Dallas Cowboys technically a wild card team. Minnesota Vikings at 1 win, not doing much. Overall, for home field advantage, just to put a bow on this, home teams were 7-7 this week, so 500 once again for home teams. We do love our home dogs. The Colts and the Steelers both won as home dogs. The Dolphins, as mentioned, the 49ers to beat up on my Cowboys. The Raiders on Monday night, and the Detroit Lions. We haven't talked much about the Lions, but are they possibly the 3rd best team in the entire NFC? All 4 of those teams won at home as the favorite. The Falcons were the only home team to win, but not cover their spread. That was against the scrappy Texans. Of the teams that were underdogs on the road, 3 of the 7 home teams lost that were underdogs outright. Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and KC all went on the road and beat the teams that they played against. Sorry, Brandon, for your Minnesota Vikings. However, 4 home favorites did lose outright, so there were 4 road dogs that got victories. Those were Dave's Jacksonville Jaguars. Chicago Bears got their first win on Thursday night. We already forgot about what they did to the Washington Commanders. New Orleans Saints beat up on the Patriots 34-0. Thankfully for Bill Belichick, not the worst loss of his career, but definitely the worst home loss of his career. So back-to-back terrible losses for the Patriots. And the New York Jets in the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game went into Denver and beat the Denver Broncos 31-21. And no surprise, Nathaniel Hackett got the game ball in that one, even though a defensive touchdown clinched it at the end. And Dave, I have it right here. The Jacksonville Jaguars now 6-5 in the UK, 2-0 all time. In Tottenham, if you believe they're better in London, that's perfectly okay.
I knew you'd look it up.
Look up the numbers.
Everybody say what's up to Caesar.
What's up?
Thanks for being here.
Caesar.
Caesar is a Raiders fan here from Vegas. Look at the Raiders.
Yeah.
Well, then he comes off that Monday night victory riding high. I don't know if you are encouraged by what you saw from the Raiders, but it is interesting coming up in week 6.
Let's talk
Josh
about
McDaniels, the student coming in against the teacher of Bill Belichick, coming off 2 horrible losses back to back.
I'm going to pull up their schedule here. We'll talk a little bit about that. I know Caesar wants to hear about that. And obviously Brandon is in Vegas too. And that's your second team, right?
Man, look at I'm always going to cheer for a team in my city, right? I always feel good when the city feels better, team feels better, So I definitely, I would say I cheer for the Raiders. It's just when they lose, it doesn't affect. Like I'm like, hey, they won.
Right.
Lose, I'm like, all right.
I cheer for him too.
Yeah, right. And so, and look, if they get Caleb Williamson, hey, look at they're on a path to be a horrible team. So they should have about 5 or 6 wins.
Oh no! Don't break Caesar's heart like that.
Oh no, I thought you knew that when they signed Jimmy.
Well, I mean, as a Raiders fan, if you bring up the schedule, they have New England at home coming up. Then they got the Bears in a week's time. Then the Detroit Lions, both on the road, so they got NFC North opponents. Then the Giants, Jets, then the Dolphins, then the Chiefs. So there will be potential for some wins to string together. Then there might be some tough games coming up. It will be tough sledding in that AFC West for the Raiders. Some people still project them to be, I guess, now the 3rd best team in that division. Kansas City probably the class of that division. And then where do you slot the Raiders in with the Chargers and the Broncos?
Last.
He's not having it.
Like what? Look at that roster, man. That is hodgepodge of
the Raiders
never has
last?
been and never will be, man. Like
in that division.
Oh man,
Broncos are bad.
Broncos
are terrible.
Oh, man, they that fake Parcells, Sean Payton, man, sitting there eating those words. Oh, I loved it. Yelling at Russell.
My fantasy defense is anybody who plays the damn Broncos. That's I'm seriously, I'm going to keep trading.
How did they hire Vance Joseph, the failed coach, to come back and fail again as defensive coordinator?
Wasn't he a Nebraska coach once? I don't know.
No, God, no, man.
No, I'm joking.
I was like, oh, man, they might have. But, a lot of the same players are back there from Banjo's days, and he has them way out of position. Safeties are way too far back. They're on I guess they already got rid of Randy Gregory, I heard. They're also going to be shopping around.
Yeah,
they want to tackle
2 days ago.
And so yeah, it's just it's a mess, and they still have 4 or 5 years of Russell Wilson sitting there. So it's always funny because it's a franchise going nowhere.
So the Raiders are going to come in 3rd, right? So are we talking about KC, San Diego, then the Raiders, then Denver?
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Chargers, although de facto San Diego Chargers. Why not?
Costco will not give them
same team.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So yeah.
He said they're playing better than last year. I don't. It's funny. I don't know if they're playing better than last year. I just think they're close. They were winning. They were actually playing better last year. Like we're blowing leads. This year they just have a softer schedule and somehow just kind of eking out some games. But
listen, don't poo-poo on his optimism, okay? If he believes that they're playing better than last year, let him believe they're playing better than last year.
They should have won the Cardinal game last year. They had a lot of leads last year. They were blown. They probably had more wins kind of on the books this year. They're not getting anything out of Hunter Renfrow. The tight ends don't really get much.
But this is all because of Josh McDaniels. This is not because the roster's bad. This is because of Josh McDaniels. The guys aren't bought in. They don't want to play for this guy. They don't respect him. They don't make him feel good. I think it's a lot of feels.
The highest paid defensive player they had to lock up in an insane asylum just a couple days ago. It kind of tells you where the Raiders are going. And the year before, the wide receiver was killing people. I don't know what you want to do with this team other than just make them get the worst so they can get Caleb Williamson. Once they do that, they can restart it and they can do something. But
I thought there was a way for us, I'm sorry, because I live in Vegas, for Caesar's team, the Raiders, to get John Gruden back. Is that a possibility?
He would try. Lord knows Mark Davis would do it. You know, don't get me wrong, he loves him, but
Just speak on that.
Let him do it. They were okay with the homophobic slurs. Then it went into racial slurs. They had to cut him out. You know,
Now you're done.
that's where they drew the line. But yeah, a lot of bad drafting. Mike Mayock did.
Mike Mayock did not do a good.
Look at their first and second round draft picks. Either they're not playing, they're cut, they're not like it's just. You have 3 or 4 years of that, and then so these guys that probably should be filling the roster now are not there. They're full of free agents and 5th and 6th draft picks. The roster is horrible, and Josh McDaniels didn't do anything to do with that, but he's not doing anything about it either.
Well, you put the guys in the right position, right, Dan? Like
I was going to say, part of that first statement that he said, well, you know, if you're not hitting on your first, second round, third draft picks, cut out the name Raiders, insert team name here. That could be a lot of these teams in the NFL. But when it comes to bringing back John Gruden, whether you can or not, we're rehashing some things that happened in the past. Why don't we flash back to our lowest rated segment, which is Pick 6. We'll revisit a couple of 6 interesting stats I found from Week 5 to recap for talking points around the water cooler coming into Wednesday. Make yourself feel a little bit smarter. So first and foremost, bring up the beautiful picture of Mike McDaniel of your Miami Dolphins, if you could, AC, because 2,568. This number is significant because that is the total yards by Miami's offense for the first 5 games in NFL history, the most yards any team has ever gained for the first 5 yards in NFL history, beating the 1999 St. Louis Rams' greatest show on turf. And of course, that is captured perfectly when he said mission accomplished. He was asked if this was his goal, having this many. He goes, of course, we had the whole offseason. This was our goal, output for first 5 games of the regular season. So, of course, Miami Dolphins have bigger aspirations, but Mike McDaniel, always good for a soundbite, always good for a caption.
You know what? I'm sorry. You know what he said really quick after that? When they asked him that question, he goes, "Fatality." Go for it.
Don't think that was correct, but we can go with that. Next number is 200 plus. So en route to my Cowboys getting shellacked 21-7 at halftime. San Francisco amassed over 200 yards of total offense for the 5th straight time this season. So they have gone 200 plus yards of total offense in the first half of every single game they have played this year. And it should be mentioned, Christian McCaffrey did score a touchdown in that second quarter to extend his streak to 14 games. So Cleveland, you're up next. Can you stop the streak of Christian McCaffrey? Stat number 3 happens to be the number 3. So for those two sitting in Las Vegas, the NHL dropped the puck on opening night tonight with a trio of games, including the banner raising for your defending Stanley Cup champion Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are set to take on the Kraken in, I believe, 11 minutes as we stand right now. And we're going to talk about a trio of pass catchers who each had the hockey hat trick of touchdowns this past week. So, of course, on Thursday night, Chicago's DJ Moore had 8 catches, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 15 catches for 192 yards because he is always open, and he scored 3 touchdowns this week. And then George Kittle had the most depressing stat line of the week for me. 3 catches for 3 touchdowns, 67 total yards for George Kittle. It should be mentioned that with 15 catches, Jamar Chase set a Bengals record for the most catches ever by a Bengal in a single game. 13 catches was the record before by Carl Pickens. In case you are wondering, the NFL all-time record is 21 receptions in a game, and that was done by Brandon Marshall. He did that December 13th, 2009. And why is that significant? Because December 13th, 2009 is the day Taylor Swift turned 20 years old. So she definitely is a mastermind and has her hands all over the NFL.
Witch.
I like what Debo said. He goes, "Hey, if we see him again, it's going to be a lot worse." I was like, "Oh man." He said, "You don't want to see us again." And then Kittle had that shirt where he lifted it up. Didn't he say it was like F Dallas?
Yeah. So. F Dallas, yes. Anyways, we move on right past F and Dallas to number 36. And of course, 36 is the number of years between victories for the Raiders versus the Green Bay Packers. The last time the Raiders beat the Packers, besides yesterday, was September 13th, 1987, when the then Los Angeles Raiders beat the Green Bay Packers 20-0. Green Bay had won 8 straight games in the series prior to last night. Marcus Allen was the star of that game in 1987, 33 rushes, 136 yards, and a touchdown. In case you're wondering, Randy Wright was the starting quarterback for Green Bay. They had not yet had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers at that time. Now, stat number 5 is 186, so we're going to put the kibosh on C.J. Stroud because he has set the NFL record with 186 pass attempts without an INT to start his career. So we will see when that first INT comes, hopefully not soon for the young quarterback. Of course, why not pile on Dak Prescott? He broke the record of Dak Prescott, who had 176 passes before for his first INT on pass 177. Trivia question there is Morgan Burnett. And does anybody know Tom Brady's first INT? He had the record prior to Dak Prescott when he threw 162 straight passes to start his career before his awful performance in Denver in 2001, where he threw not only his first, but his first 4 picks on 4 straight drives. Denard Walker is the trivia answer to who got the first ever interception on Tom Brady. He picked him off twice. And Delta O'Neal, that's a name from the past that I remember, also had 2 picks.
I was going to say
Tom
that.
Brady.
Great name.
No, it wasn't.
One.
Great name.
And then finally, the last number is 15. Not only the jersey number for one Patrick Mahomes, but the consecutive number of losses the Denver Broncos have had against the Kansas City Chiefs heading into this Thursday night, or the first game of Week 6. The last time the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs was September 17th, 2015. Remember, divisional opponents, they see each other twice a year. The last time Denver beat Kansas City, it was Peyton Manning taking on Alex Smith.
Wow.
And funnily enough, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh.
Funnily enough, Patrick Mahomes got his first ever career start in a game against Denver. He is 11-0 lifetime versus Denver. That start was Week 17 of 2017 because the Chiefs had already clinched a playoff spot and sat Alex Smith at the time. And in that game, so we talked about Tom Brady throwing 4 interceptions, his first time throwing an interception. Peyton Manning in that game that he lost to Patrick Mahomes threw 4 INTs. He was 5 for 20 for 35 yards and 4 INTs.
Yikes.
That one.
What a pull Manning, man. You went year, right? 3 and 13. They powered through.
So again, you have 2,568 total yards by the Miami offense, 200 plus yards first half offense
Let's
for the 49ers. 3 touchdowns by 3 different players this week in the NFL. 36 years between victories for the Raiders, but congratulations, he finally did it. CJ Stroud has yet to throw an interception, so 186 and counting to start his career. And we will see if they can go for 16 straight wins over the Denver Broncos. The New England Patriots also have 15 straight wins over the New York Jets. And AC, we should mention, the record all-time is 20 wins. Your Miami Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills 20 straight times way back in the 70s.
It's another record.
Wow.
Keep that in the
So, I think we got a question here about Belichick getting fired.
All right, well, that brings us right into our next segment of Flaming Hot, so where we talk about coaches that could potentially be on the hot seat. So who brought us this question? And they'll be the first one.
That, of course, was from the better half of the Married Couple podcast. That'd be my wife listening in the other room.
But I read some articles saying that Belichick doesn't do well this season. He will be fired. What are your thoughts? I brought it up the other day. I think he's well past his prime. He's got too much power. He is drunk on his own juices, and it's time to go. And don't do the nepotism thing where you put your son in or whatever, like Joe. It's time to go like another way completely.
You did say that, and I disagree with you wholeheartedly, and I can't even talk right now. And I don't know, after this past week and this past loss, I'm almost starting to change my mind. I don't think they'll fire him mid-season.
No,
I
you show more respect than
fire
that.
him.
I think they're going to ask him maybe to step down. I think they're going to ask him to step down.
After 7 Super Bowls and 10 appearances? What?
Dude, you have balloons? And I think Dan Rod also pointed out that the reason you want him to leave is so he doesn't catch that all-time coaching record of wins held by
Don Shula. And subliminally, AC letting all his balloons loose to celebrate the demise of Belichick.
I do see him stepping down. I think also, too, is because I think Kraft's going to go to him, in that owners meeting they have every year. And usually what they always ask a head coach is, what's your plan to get out of this? And I don't think he has one. It's not like, hey, we just got to fix this up, we tighten this. It's a whole teardown they have to go into getting a whole new quarterback. The skill positions probably need to be reset too. There's nobody on that offense you'd want to keep next year. The line's in shambles, and then the defense has some gaps, even though they're pretty good. But you lose, Matthew Judon's going to have to come back. You got Christian Gonzalez coming back off an injury. To bring him back just doesn't make sense. You might as well bring in a young coach. And I think they're going to do is they're going to give it to Jared Mayo. I think they're the guy who's already a linebacker coach, kind of half assistant defensive person, and keep it in the family a little bit, and then try to go that route. But that's what I believe.
Can't do that. It's got to be fresh blood. We went from Flores to McDaniels, defensive coach, like an offense. Obviously, and I'm not talking on my team, but just look around. The NFL is now a league where you have to be offense first. I mean, what are you going to do?
That has changed.
Pound the rock? I mean,
you know what?
You're
You
right.
can be a defensive coach if you get the right offensive mind. I like what Davis is doing out in Houston. Actually, there's offensive coaches that are found too. You're right. You do if you get a good. I would say this though: if you get a really good offensive coordinator, kind of like the Lions got Ben Johnson over there, you go get a Ryan Hannibal, an enemy. Then I like it. But I think what they're looking at is there's no one on the offensive side to do, and I do think Kraft and I think Belichick on his way out will try to make it so at least when he leaves, I think they will kind of I wouldn't say truth person, be like, hey, can we at least give Mayo a shot? I think they're also going to want to give him a shot just because also get another minority.
I just don't think anybody can tell Bill what to do or fire him. He would have to come to those terms on his own because he has too much power. He has too much clout. He's done something that no one else has done. He's not going to fire himself unless Kraft goes, you're done. And what are the chances that Kraft goes, you've done enough. Go to pasture. I don't think he has it in him.
I think that's the only way they can do it.
He'll get a head coaching job right away, and I don't be surprised if if I think honest truth, I think the Commanders make a run at him. They got new money coming in from fresh ownership, and Matt Johnson. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw a chunk of money at him because they'll get him to run the whole thing. He'll be able to have the
It's interesting what you say there. The fact that if Bill does get released by the Patriots, or if there's some sort of handshake agreement that he's going to walk away, they're going to go in a different direction. Will Bill come back to coach again to try and get that record? Does he still have that in him? I know he's up there in his 70s. He's not the oldest coach in the league because Pete Carroll is older than Bill, even though you wouldn't tell by looking at them. Besides Bill Belichick, though, and this Bill Belichick hot seat gets hotter and hotter as we talked about 2 historic losses back to back. Is there any other coach at this moment that seat is even remotely warm, or is it all Bill all the time now, just with how bad the Patriots have been? Or is there any other coach that should be concerned with the job they're doing so far this year?
Oh, yeah. I'll let you guys go, but I got about like 3 of them just off the bat,
Well, before we get to there, I'll say if Belichick goes anywhere, he'll probably go right here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wouldn't that be awesome? Also, let's give the NFL some credit by, making things right, finally, making sure that, we can't be seeing the other team's plays and that the footballs are all inflated to the right. That's all I'm going to.
Yeah.
The perfect PSI.
That's what it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Now they make teams play in London 2 weeks in a row and give them the advantage over
Germany.
teams that come in and play one game on short rest.
Okay, fine. No. We lowered the CTE thing, we're trying to make it now you're going to London and Germany, and it's going to be
Brandon, who are your coaches that you think are on the hot seat? Since it seems like none of us really have anyone on the tip of our tongue.
Well, yeah, Ron Rivera is probably fired. They're going to bring in a new regime in there. Anything that smells like the past guys are just going to be blown out. So that's probably going to be an easy one. I still think somehow they probably fire Matt Eberflus out in Chicago, and not just because the defense looks terrible, and he's a defensive coach, so that seems to be never good. Yeah. And I think if they bring in a new quarterback, they'll just bring an offensive guy in, and Staley's there also as well, just because again the defense bad again. That's your calling card, and I don't think those guys are going anywhere. And then again, Zach Taylor, Bengals aren't out of the woods yet. And so they come into a pretty rough schedule in the next couple games. And if they miss the playoffs and they're 7-10 or something, and they're not going well, I just think that they might try to bring in some name or something and kind of get something going. So those guys are off my bet. And Robert Saleh should be fired probably too.
Oh, come on, man! I was literally bringing up his picture.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, come on.
I think Robert Saleh
fires everybody.
He gets an excuse me here because of what happened to Aaron Rodgers, and I think if Aaron Rodgers goes to bat for Robert Saleh, he'll stay. What's interesting there, 2 of the coaches you mentioned, Brandon Staley and Taylor out of Cincinnati, both have established quarterbacks that you think would be an interesting situation to come into, knowing that you probably have your franchise quarterback in the locker room. Some of those other teams, whether it's New England, whether it is the Washington Commanders, and I forget the other one, Chicago Bears, potentially you could have a coach come in with a brand new quarterback, possibly one of these rookies coming in the draft next season as well. But these hot seats will continue to get hot. Some coaches that are probably thinking their seat isn't warm at all, their seat warmers will start coming up as we get into these wintry months, especially for some of us out here in Canada that will see snow a lot sooner than maybe the few of you out there in Las Vegas. So we'll enjoy that.
Woody Johnson fired Eric Mangini after Brett Favre hurt his thing, and they ended up with a winning record at the end of the year.
So Brett Favre didn't stay, did he?
No, well, they could have had him, but they traded him over to the Vikings the next year. So it was like they already had. They could have had the contract. So it's like I don't think Salah survives this if he doesn't make the playoffs.
That is the face of a man that you cannot fire. You cannot fire a man with that face. Look, I could not go into a room and tell this man.
Name one head coach that can get 4 years no playoffs and still keep the job.
Jason Garrett.
Tomlin.
Now to give Tomlin, no, 4 years with no playoffs in a row.
You're asking me a hypothetical. That's the guy who could do it.
Okay, maybe yeah, but he's had playoffs. Oh, yeah. Like, this guy has never sniffed a playoff game 4 years. Never.
No, he's gone. He's not that talented. He's not particularly thought provoking. I saw him ride a lot of Aaron Rodgers' meat on HBO and just be thankful. You can tell how much disdain he actually had for Zach Wilson by absolutely licking Aaron Rodgers' coin purse daily. It was just so much,
He has a worse record than Todd Bowles. He didn't. It's odd. Like we think he made the playoffs last year and he had 7 wins and they went on a hell of a losing streak. This year they're looking about 7 wins. If it was last year, I'd give him the excuse going okay, but going in, this is 4 years. You're getting him a 5th year.
Right.
I don't in New York. I don't know who else can get 5 years and just literally.
It feels like a mulligan because of Aaron Rodgers, but then again, he also hasn't done anything in the 3 years prior.
But the other 3 years, yeah, like that. I don't know how he keeps it. I don't know how Woody keeps him there. Yeah, this is Johnson money.
No, yeah, that's that vaccine money, baby.
It's
that vaccine.
They take Mark Davis money, where they got to keep it because he ain't paying it.
Right.
And before Johnson wasn't there, he was working with the Trump thing. He came back this year. Woody's gonna cut him.
All right. Well, we're talking about the New York Jets and obviously the injury to Aaron Rodgers that happened 4 plays into Week 1, which will now segue us into injuries that happened in Week 5 with our catastrophic injuries, otherwise known as boo-boos and boo-hoos. We'll start right there with the New York Jets, who lost offensive tackle Elijah Vera Tucker, who also tore an Achilles last week, so he is now out for the season. Another Bronco goes down with an Achilles injury. The New York Giants have some injury concerns with Daniel Jones, who left Sunday's game against the Dolphins with an injured neck. So we'll keep our eye on Daniel Jones. That's concerning one. The Saints, Chris Olave, was dealing with a toe issue pregame Sunday versus the Patriots for head coach Dennis Allen. Olave made it through the entire game, so we will see what his status is coming up. In Miami, talk about Devon Achane. He's going to be out for some period of time. So what's the news out of Miami? How long is Achane going to be gone? He's got dealing with a knee injury, possibly out for significant time. What are your thoughts on that, AC?
If I had to guess, it's just going to be a week. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's more of a maintenance thing where he didn't feel well, and it's the Panthers, so it's not like we're going to need him. We're going to bring up Jeff Wilson. I actually, not to sound like Nostradamus, but on Sunday evening, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they sit down Achane and they bring up Jeff Wilson from the minors, and who's not a slouch, and activate him. We also have Savon Ahmed, and we have Chris. I always forget his name. Our 5th running back, and he's fantastic as well. So let's get some playing time while we're playing not the best team in the whole world. And I'm not surprised that they're going to sit him down. I would rather have him a bit more for the rest of the season, doing more, open field.
If your Achane actually missed Week 1 for your Dolphins, he kind of had a slow start Week 2, but then he kind of exploded on the scene after that. But it looks like he will miss at least one game coming up. A tough one out of Minnesota that Brandon's already touched on, but it has been confirmed Justin Jefferson dealing with a hamstring injury has been put on IR, meaning he will be out at least 4 weeks in Minnesota. Brandon, I know we go from bad to worse with your Vikings, but any thought on Justin Jefferson?
Good. Shut him down. Nothing. As long as there's nothing like that's going to tell him out for the year or mess with him next year, like some rehab stuff. So that's always that's probably the one thing. And then we're kind of got good. KJ Osborne, Addison, Augustine. There's enough pass catchers down there that would it could kind of fill the void a little bit on that nature. It's just we don't run the ball well all that much, and so there's it's a lot of throwing, and so hopefully maybe we get back to run a little bit.
Who knows? It could change your offense a bit because
I was going to say about Achane too is it's most of that scheme I think a lot too. As much as he's a good runner, and because you see Musk or you see Wilson. Line and scheme, man. I think you can probably. I'm not saying put any back there, but McDaniel's scheme kind of shows you that. I think it's more the line and scheme than it is the actual runners back there, as you can tell by throughout the people they keep putting back there. He just has to help speed the breakaway things killer, But I think Mustard's going to do well. So is Wilson.
He does have instincts for sure, but
Yeah.
like I said, he's a different kind of back that we have there. Mustard being more of a big speedster that can turn the corner, kind of like Ricky Williams, dare I say?
Yeah.
And then you have Achane, who's literally primed and perfect for that kind of like almost the what do you call it, the wildcat, that kind of thing, like somewhere where he's a speedster, kind of like back in the day in Philly.
They're all speedsters though. Even Wilson's a speedster, So yeah, it's not like
it's a one-cut speedster where
it's not like he's like Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson, where it's like, look, he is the running game, and he has to make people miss. It's like a lot of these guys, this scheme has him where that run back probably doesn't get touched until maybe 3 to 4 yards down the field, by the line, so it's a lot of hope and holes in this direction.
Well, it has been reported. Adam Schefter did report earlier Tuesday that he could be a candidate for injured reserve, much like what happened to Justin Jefferson. So I don't know if we've heard anything on Achane, but it is something to keep an eye on going forward. Another injury that's going to be prevalent because they play in just a couple of days, that is Travis Kelce. We mentioned the ankle injury he suffered. He came back into the game, but we will see on short rest what Travis Kelce can do against the Denver Broncos at home on Thursday night. That's one that a particular pop star will be keeping their attention on.
Well, that's why you should report on that one. That particular pop star, of course, being
Sierra.
I'm sure
Taylor Swift.
Who?
You get Sierra and you get Swift and you get them going against each other.
Melissa Etheridge, big Kansas City Chiefs fan, or Paul Rudd, probably very interested in the health of Travis Kelce. Another one that is very concerning, the Indianapolis Colts' Anthony Richardson. He left the game against the Titans with a right shoulder injury. It could be an AC joint injury, so not sure. He's seeking a second opinion. That is his throwing shoulder. Has Anthony Richardson completed a game he has started in yet this season? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has.
Shane Steichen's going to get him killed. He's not Hurts. Stop it. And they keep trying to do things that Hurts does, and they're getting the boy killed. I
like the way he plays. I like his athleticism and the way he plays football. I really do. But you're right. He's not going to last the season if he keeps it up. He's had at
running
least
the same Philly offense.
He's had
over there.
At least 2 concussions.
Andrew Luck.
God, I like that guy. He's
so
but the
good.
Here's
the Luck didn't have an offensive line, and they're attacking him. Shane Steichen's running him into the.
This is the exact same thing we said about Andrew Luck. I like the guy. He's cool. I want him to succeed. I have nothing about the Indianapolis Colts.
This guy's got more than that.
He's got a razor for an arm.
Dude, he's so good.
He's like a more compact Cam Newton.
The good thing is he'll be out for a month. He's going to be out for at least a month. The good thing is that Gardner Minshew's a great backup. Gardner Minshew can lead them to a couple wins, and that's all they'll need if Richardson come back at that point. But you're right, they got to protect him better because he is going to be an Andrew Luck.
The coaching staff needs to protect him. It's not the line. Like there are these design runs and things that they're doing. That's the play call. He's not getting back and getting killed like Burrow was a couple of years ago with a bad line. They are running him and this kind of, wildcat read option stuff because he's a big bat. But, just like Cam Newton, the big guys do fall.
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay.
The Indianapolis Colts have never had a black quarterback, and now they're overcompensating by running him all the time and thinking fucking Jackson.
Dude.
They had Brissett.
They had Brissett, okay. But they didn't scheme around Brissett. They didn't draft Brissett to be the face of the franchise.
No. That's
so, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have an athletic, and I said it crudely, but like we have an athletic quarterback now. Let's play that game. Like they're almost rushing to the future where they've been in, kind of Matt Ryan it and like Old Man Rivers, and now they get something like a Ferrari, and they're like, how do I use this thing? And
you get Shane Steichen, the coordinator from the Eagles, to run it. What the funny part is they have 2 backs now with Zach Moss and Taylor back. Like they really don't need to be running the quarterback like that, and so. Right. But I don't think that's the way this offense works. Is when they get in the 4th and 2, they're going to do the tush push. When it's low and thing, they're going to ask him back. And he is an inaccurate quarterback, and so he's only going to read one half of the field. If that guy's covered, he's probably going to tuck it and run. Hurts did that for the first 2 years until his 3rd year, where he was able to actually see the field. This
He'll
kid's
get
even raw.
He'll get-
It'd be 3 to 4 years before he goes through progressions. He's going to get killed.
I hope he makes it through a couple years. I really want to see him, but I don't want to see him this week because the Jaguars play the Colts. Granted, we have the Colts number, and hopefully now.
After how you talk so glowingly about Gardner Minshew, you'd rather see Gardner Minshew. I think the problem, like a lot of you touched on with Anthony Richardson, is the fact that I think they're letting him run much like some of these younger quarterbacks have done, even Justin Fields, where they're trying to make him more of a pocket passer, let him be comfortable with his legs. What he needs to learn how to do is protect himself as well. Yes. Because if you remember, that one concussion came when he scored a touchdown, got pushed, fell awkwardly, hit the back of his head on the turf. And then this one, obviously the AC injury, he was running, kind of got taken down on that right shoulder. He has to learn how to protect himself as well, especially if he's going to have success running the football. But obviously one of the bigger injuries in the NFL, especially when it comes to a quarterback, Anthony Richardson. The Detroit Lions had Jamar Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown both sit out their Week 5 matchup after suffering injuries in Week 4. We'll see if both of them come back. The probably biggest injury that means not as much in terms of the overall NFL if you're not following the Detroit Lions, although happens to be Emmanuel Mosley. If you don't know Emmanuel Mosley, he had 2 snaps in his return coming off an ACL injury and went down with another non-contact ACL injury. So it seems like in back-to-back years, he is dealing with ACL season-ending injuries. I think one was the left knee and then the right knee, or the right knee and then the left knee, back-to-back. Cleveland has issue concerns with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, they came off their bye week. He did not play in their Week 4 matchup with shoulder issues. Now, Deshaun Watson, I've heard stories that he chose not to play even though he was cleared. I don't know if those are true or not. But remember, with Deshaun Watson, all his money is guaranteed. So Deshaun Watson does not have to take another snap for the Cleveland Browns if he does not want to. And he will get every single dollar that he is owed. Now, I'm not sure if that is what Deshaun Watson wants to do, but he's got a big game coming up for the Cleveland Browns. We'll keep an eye on him as, again, they take on the San Francisco 49ers this week. The Chicago Bears are dealing with an injury to Khalil Herbert in their backfield, so we'll see what happens to them. And then, of course, Matt Milano broke his leg, I believe, against the Jaguars in London. So that sucks, not only to break your leg, but also have to come back on a long flight with that broken leg. So doubly issue for the Buffalo Bills star Matt Milano, and we'll see how Buffalo recoups losing, the leader of their defense, Matt Milano, at the linebacker position.
Mafia. Thoughts and prayers.
And they're one of those game teams that are probably going to be killed by injury throughout the year and probably go nowhere. Just happens, it's just one. There's always a team that season that just the injury bug just starts taking player by player every week, and so it looks like the Bills are going to be this player. I'd be surprised if they don't lose another player or two. Something happens, something bad, Mojo.
And then an interesting one out of Arizona, because obviously it can affect a lot of fantasy football players as well as the actual Cardinals themselves. But James Conner suffered a knee injury and Sunday's lost to the Bengals, only playing 12 snaps. He might miss multiple weeks, could be a candidate for injured reserve as we sit on Tuesday evening. I have not seen whether he's been placed in injured reserve or not. So take a look on the waiver wire. Who is the backup? Who is your handcuff back there in Arizona? Maybe you can pick up a running back that can get you some points. With the way that they've been running the football there in Arizona. But that kind of wraps up any of
more to try to run a little more. And so I don't know if that's going to work, but I guess they're going to try to maybe use him as a scat back. He's going to take some carries. So we'll see how that kind of pans
And if your fantasy team is doing so bad that you're looking at Arizona to see who you can pick up, then just don't do fantasy anymore.
Arizona reminds me of the Bears last year, where the Bears end up winning a couple games and then ran like 14 in a row loss. And I think the Cardinals are going to be like that, where they're going to be in every game, but they're going to lose every game, and they're still probably going to end up with that 1 or 2 in the draft. And so, and then they're going to be able to replace Kyler.
And that reminds me, of course, people go on IR, and then suddenly it's Week 6, and you have a Jonathan Taylor available to you. So so that's going to happen as well. So I think, just to bring it back to my team, I thank the Lord above that I did not trade for Jonathan Taylor or Dalvin Cook at this point, because we did have a diamond in the rough, as I believed, and we didn't have to pay them, and we don't have to, make a trade. And Jonathan Taylor's
Dalvin Cook's stealing money over there, $7 million. God damn it!
Yeah, he is.
And I think Jahmyr Gibbs got to be one of the busts of the season, man. The Lions first round draft pick. This kid's third on your depth chart. He was out this game, but he's had little to no impact. He could have got, I don't know, some defensive help. They reached for this, he was a second or third round draft, probably around Alabama. They had him going to get him. So what happens when you miss this far, when you reach for things they're doing. So even the Lions are good, they're going to that's going to come back to haunt them. That's a bad
I think all the talk coming out of the draft with Gibbs was, they reached maybe too high to take him, but he's supposed to be more dynamic in the passing game as much as he is a dynamic rusher. I think they are fortunate that Montgomery has been, pretty good for them so far. 6 touchdowns on the year for David Montgomery for the Detroit Lions, maybe taking away some of the shine of Jahmyr Gibbs, but we'll see if he comes back. But we might as well get into fact or fiction, because you said a couple things. Is Dalvin Cook stealing money with $7 million? But let's get to a couple talking points that anybody wants to bring up, and we'll decide whether these are fact or fictitious statements in the NFL after 5 weeks or going forward. So if anybody has a fact or fiction stat, please let us know, and we will discuss amongst ourselves.
Casio, go first.
Sure.
You've chosen me?
You can just go.
You're the Casio.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Wow, that's amazing. All right. So last week I had a Bengals question. Fact or fiction? Can they turn it around? And you guys were pretty optimistic that he could, right?
What's turn it around mean? Like
I wasn't.
I don't know, barely playoffs, or do you guys defeat us?
9-8, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay.
But what is your Bengals question now?
So,
do you have a Bengals question?
No, I wanted to hark back to that because I want to pose the same kind of question.
Okay.
How do we feel about the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields? I think we mentioned off camera before we started to talk that, Brandon, you thought that he might get traded. They're going to kind of blow it up.
Yeah.
No, they turned it around with 3 touchdowns to DJ
He
Moore.
only played the Commanders once this season, I heard. Yes.
Okay. So they
if you play him every game, then yes, I would. Yes.
Forget about it. They'll play the Commanders every week. But the question is, fact or fiction, Justin Fields stays on the Bears and becomes the franchise quarterback that they need?
Whew. I'll take this one first. I think this could go either way. I will say fact, because I think he will do well enough to play them out of a top pick, and maybe they will stay with him because, again, you don't want to reach for maybe the 3rd or 4th best quarterback on the board if you feel that Justin Fields is better. However, caveat to that, they could tank, or as I'm talking, the ultimate caveat, they have the Carolina Panthers pick, which could end up being the 1st overall pick anyway. But as I sit right now, I will say fiction. I forget the statement, but I think Justin Fields stays the fact. He'll stay the quarterback.
He'll stay the quarterback.
Chicago Bears. Yeah, I think they'll find their way into a couple wins this year, and he'll do the same thing he did to end last year, where he gave us hope, even though he didn't win a game towards the end of last year. He'll show progression to the point where you'll keep him on the roster.
Yeah, and he's really like on the threshold of being too good, like in my mind, right? He's right on the precipice of being too good to be able to trade, and you almost owe him a redo with better people. Or cut your losses right now, Trey Lance him, get him the hell off my team. He's not the guy, moving hell and high water to get this guy, and suddenly he's not the answer.
I'm gonna go fiction. Just a little bit about that. You're right. You're gonna get that Carolina pick. You're gonna get that 1st pick overall, or somewhere around there. And he's going to be going to his 4th year. That's when you have to make the decision on the extension. And so are you going to want to pay this guy? I'll take him now at this price. You don't want to take him now at a higher price. And so usually your first 3 years are your chance to choose whether you get the contract extension. And so his first 2 were terrible. They lost a bunch of games. And then this is his 3rd year. And so you're like, okay, well, if he gets me a couple more games, I think they'd want to have a rookie quarterback that's good, and then they can go get some more pieces. If you end up having to pay this guy and then lose pieces, kind of what the Giants did with Danny Dimes, you're going to end up being in a world of hurt. And so it's not whether you think this guy can win. It's like, do you want to pay him? And if you don't, get rid of him, when are you going to get again another 1st round draft pick like this with that? It doesn't happen again. And with this draft class, no.
I mean, we're not talking about releasing. We're talking about trading, right?
Yeah, you get like a 6th round draft pick. There's not much to give him because the problem is you've already milked his best thing, which is his rookie contract. So the next person that gets
Brandon, maybe it's not like all his fault. Maybe it's just too much on him. People, like you said, Chase Claypool isn't turning around when I want him to. We know some people aren't blocking. Maybe it's the scenery. Maybe it's the actual team culture. Maybe if you put him in Seattle, he'd thrive. Where there's a good culture. Maybe I don't know, a Bills Mafia or something like that.
He's not going to get nothing for him because if I'm the other team, why would I trade for a guy that I'm going to have to pay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to give you a 4th or 3rd round draft pick, and I got to pay this guy who's never proved anything. You're killing me.
Here's a 1st. Right.
That's why trades are so hard in the NFL is because of that. Usually we just wait for people to get released, and so I just don't like. Maybe if they get a 6th or 7th for him, fantastic, but just to get something back. But for the most part, it's like he just hasn't proven himself enough to get anything back for him. And even the games he does good in, they lose.
Is there any scenario where they could get the first overall pick, maybe draft a Caleb Williams out of USC and sit him behind Justin Fields for 1 year and let him kind of learn behind a Justin Fields, maybe give Justin Fields one more year.
Learn what? Learn what?
Yeah, I want Caleb Williams to get something. You sit here, Fields, and learn how to play quarterback with your feet and hands. No, I think Fields does get another chance, but
another team.
Yeah, he'll probably come in. Maybe he does one of those, kind of Sam Darnold things where he kind of just, hopefully smash It's just honestly because there's just so many quarterbacks coming, and what we like about rookie quarterbacks is that if you're good, we can build a team around you on a cheap, and then by the time we have to pay you, you're good enough to lead the team, right?
Or we're not going to pay you. Get the hell out of here. We'll draft the next kid.
Exactly.
We'll get Arch Manning.
And 2 years have been used up. 1 year was Matt Nagy. I don't know what more he could. I think he's kind of proven to you that I wouldn't pay him.
Yeah, not the Bears.
Dave, very quickly, fact or fiction? Where do you land on this, Justin?
Brandon, you bring up some really good points, but I got to say fact. Justin Fields is not the problem on that team.
What is it?
They're just straight not. The solution, I don't know. It's a good thing because I'm
paying you for.
No, it's a good thing I'm not being paid either. No, I don't think they'll get rid of him yet. You bring up a lot of good points with his contract ending, but you know what? Build the rest of the team around him. They haven't been relevant in a while, and they're really irrelevant right now. He's not the problem on the team. He still shows flashes of what could be greatness. Build a team around him and see what you can do. I think it's fact he stays. I don't think he leaves yet. I don't think they get rid of him yet.
We'll get a good report on Justin Fields. Sorry to cut you off, Dave, but the Minnesota Vikings go to Chicago to take on the Bears this week. So we'll get a good report from Brandon on just how well Justin Fields performed or didn't perform in week 6
he does
of
win.
the NFL.
I hope we lose and he wins. And I don't want to see Caleb Williams in 10 years in a Bear uniform. Hopefully they keep Fields and give him a long contract, and I would love that. But this regime doesn't owe Fields nothing. They didn't draft him. It's not their guy. And,
that's partly why I said it too. Because,
so I think and then they have multiple first rounders. If you don't get a quarterback with multiple first rounders, what are you going to do? Draft 2 offensive linemen? You fire everybody in the building. They're looking for something different.
He was that different though. Like he was that guy that was going to shake it up because he was
the 13th pick overall. I think. Look at ask Rosen what they give you in a couple of years, man. They will Jimmy Clausen. There's a lot of guys that get drafted. They get 1 or 2 years, they get out of the league. Man, Baker Mayfield led his team to a playoff victory, and they couldn't kick him out fast enough. This kid has never even sniffed more than 5 wins.
All right, well, let's move on from Justin Fields. Brandon, do you have your own fact or fiction question for us?
I do, and I was going to say is I say fact or fiction. Did the Eagles end up really basically having to cut half this team because they're going to have to pay Hurts, and then you're going to lose like a Devontae Smith? So I would say fact or fiction. I don't see this team. This is the last year they're going to be very good.
Right.
And because I think once you have to pay Hurts, I think this team goes down very fast because they're going to have to cut a lot of that defense, and you're going to lose Kelsey on the line. So I think this is fact or fiction. This is their Super Bowl year, and if they don't get it now, this window's going to shut fast.
So you're saying, is it more like a Seattle where we saw the window with Russell Wilson, and then it kind of went, they were successful, but not first few years of Russell Wilson successful almost. And maybe it's not fair to use him as the blueprint. But Dave, since you were the last one to answer the last one, your thoughts, is this kind of the window shuts at the end of this season for the Philadelphia Eagles if they have to pay Jalen Hurts?
It depends what you mean very good. Is this their best chance for a Super Bowl in the next 5 years? Yes. Then that is a fact. This year is going to be defining. And you're right with everything you said about it. Yes, it's a fact. But they're not going to go from first to nothing. I mean, they'll still be competitive. they'll still have, they may still make the playoffs for the next 3 or 4 years. But this is their best chance the next 5 years. It is a fact.
AC?
This is it. The window's super small. I have to look a little deeper into the monetary side of this, and that has a lot to do with it. And once you pay certain people, it's proven. You can go back and just look at. We've had this conversation a few times now. How many people could you possibly pay? Look what happened to the Rams. The Rams just had to do
an
entire kind of like you don't want to say the word rebuild, but you kind of have to rework some stuff. You have to have a rich owner that's willing to give more bonuses than guaranteed money. You have to draft correctly. You have to be able to get that quarterback that Brandon's talking about on a rookie contract. I have that too. That's the only way that you can do it. You have to find diamonds in the rough. You have to draft correctly. I'll say it again for the second time. You have to hit on at least 70% of these people. If you draft badly, or if you give up too much capital to get people who don't make sense, Trey Lance, then what are you doing? You're going to have to pay everybody you can't. You're going to suffer in the worst parts. Your left tackle, you're not going to have good safeties. You're not going to have pass rushers.
Well, I think Kelsey's last year, so they're going to lose that center. I don't think, so I think he came back just to try to win Super Bowl this year.
Lose the same thing.
And then you're going to, it's hard to keep two receivers at a high-end contract. So I don't know what they're going to do with Devontae Smith.
You got to have to pay Devontae.
You're already paying AJ.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be key. And I don't think Hurts is like a guy put on team back. I think he's kind of like where it's like, hey, kind of like Jared Goff was, where it's like, hey, when the team's loaded, man, I'll get you there. But then when they started stripping the team away and he started taking away them guys, and all of a sudden you're right, 9-7s, 10-6 seasons getting knocked out in the wild card round. And because you don't have that, because you're going to Hasim Reddick on the defensive side. The good thing is that some of the defensive linemen are cheap because they just got them from Georgia. But keeping guys like Darius Slay and Bradbury on the secondary, these guys cost. And so when you have to pay your quarterback that much, he's going to have to elevate these guys to another level, or you're going to have to pay. So I just see that's the next team kind of coming. Them and the Bills. When the Bills do, it's time for a reset, or just hold on tight.
Okay, I'm going to take off my, obviously, Dallas Cowboys NFC East bias hat, and I'll just put on my, NFL analyst, whatever that's worth hat. I think what you're saying is fictitious. I think the Eagles are primed to be good for the next 3, 4, 5 years. A lot of times, a lot of things we're talking about here is paying quarterbacks and getting them on their rookie deals. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have made a great blueprint for how you can pay a quarterback a lot of money and still somewhat keep the pieces around him. Now, you will lose a piece like a Tyreek Hill. You might lose a piece maybe like an A.J. Brown or a Devontae Adams in Philadelphia, but you can still find players that will accentuate what you do well. I think Jalen Hurts needs to continue to progress and prove that he is a great quarterback. So as much as we look at the Chiefs blueprint, I think you have another blueprint right there in your division in the Dallas Cowboys and what has happened in paying Dak Prescott. Now, obviously, the Cowboys can't really hold a candle to the Eagles or the 49ers right now. But if you look at the Cowboys, we're talking about a Micah Parsons on defense. We're talking about a CeeDee Lamb. We're talking about 5 offensive linemen that are still, pretty decent at their position.
None of those guys have been paid yet. There's
But that's what I'm saying. You paid your quarterback, and you still found ways to keep that team relevant around them. So I think the Eagles, if they can draft well, will still be able to build around Jalen Hurts. And the ultimate thing in all of this is we're assuming you're paying your quarterback top dollar. It takes not a lot of guys talk about this, but more a team-friendly deal, or they structure in a way where maybe his cap hit isn't as strong or as much, and they are able to build around him. And the other factor is, if you look in that NFC and you think that the Eagles are one of the top 2 teams, and you think the Eagles continue to be good, guys might be able to take less money to play there because they want to win. We saw this a couple times with the Patriots. I'm not saying they have Tom Brady there, but it is possible that maybe,
it comes
down to my heart to say this, but I think fictitious, and I think the Eagles will still be good for the next 3 to 5 years.
He already signed the contract, so the money's we already know what he's getting paid. He just signed it this year, just hasn't hit. And unless you're the Chiefs and you literally knock it out of the park with that draft they did on defense,
that caliber of guy.
You have to literally, because what it is you're going to say, I'm going to bring in the young defense, and they're going to have to make it work. I'm not saying that, again, I think they're going to be you're right, like Seattle was for a couple years. They'll make the playoffs, But the 13-3, we run this NFC thing, that's going to go away very fast. They're going to be just like middle of the road, 10-6, 11-5 kind of team, just trying to hopefully they win it. But I think their window's kind of, because they signed Hurts to a huge contract, and the Bills going to come due next year. And then the same with the Cowboys got a lot of money because they get hit with the Dak contract next year. The CD has to get paid. Parks has to get paid. And they just paid Trayvon Diggs. The cuts are coming. There's only so much money in a salary cap sport. Someone either you're winning with them, or you're having to replace them. And I'll be surprised if Dak doesn't. I don't know. I'll get that later.
Well, that sounds
no. There's no later. We'll get to it next week.
I'll talk about another week. I think Dak won't do it. If Dak don't do it this year, they might be rookie quarterback in it next year.
Go ahead, AC.
Keep in mind the cap goes up every year. So Jalen Hurts, yes, next year's cap hit will be $13.5 million. Then it goes up to $21 million. I am curious to see where that ranks among quarterbacks for the next 2 years. He'll only be 26 and 27 years old in 2024, 2025. Dave, do you have a final fact or fiction before we head to our final words on week 5?
I don't, because we're up against the clock. I will save mine for next week. And that we've talked about it a lot anyway. AC's was close to what I was going to ask. We're going to save it for next week, and it'll be relevant.
All right, we'll consider that fact, and we'll move right along to the final word. So if we can recap week 5 in a word or two, Dave, since you didn't have a fact or fiction, we'll go right to you to start. How would you sum up week 5? What is your word of the week?
Injuries. Wow.
I was gonna say that.
A lot of injuries.
define the week.
I was gonna say it's week 5, like I've said for the first 4 weeks, but I got to quit saying that at some point and come up with a different word, because the games are starting to become relevant. But man, injuries on all sides of the ball. Some that will be sustainable and hold with the teams and actually cause problems with the teams, and some the next man will step up and we'll be fine. So, but it was a injury week.
Yeah.
All right, so Dave's word is injury. Brandon, we'll go to you. What is your word of the week?
I like that. I was gonna go with that one, but I go with another one. Redemption. And a lot of teams that I think we counted out, where there was Bengals. You saw the Dolphins kind of come back off a tough loss, and then Nathaniel Hackett shoving that shit right at Sean Payton, and let you know that that Russell Wilson shit was not me. You get it now. Good luck to you. And so I felt that it felt good. The football gods were speaking and making it work. And I just have a feeling that you got to see that. So redemption.
Yeah.
All right.
Good one.
AC?
Good one. Safe. I feel like safe is a good word because I wanted to safely win this week to get just a W.
Well played.
And I don't want to be thinking about it. I don't want to break any speed records, although we can. I didn't want to, which it happened. A-Chain is going to be, like I said earlier, I think it's more of a maintenance thing, but there might be more. We'll keep an eye on that. And fantasy owners, please keep an eye on that because that's 2 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, I know.
However, for me, safe. Let's get a W in the column. Personally, but it was a wild week overall, and I really enjoyed watching football over at Brandon's house with his new pool table.
I'm showing up. I'm coming before the end of the season.
Here.
Go.
I noticed when you come over here, Dolphins win. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, the one loss, I didn't come over.
No, I'm just saying. So definitely.
Next week, we're watching this at the sports book.
I have to stand at the one spot in my kitchen, so I can't.
Rubbing your hands.
Yeah, I've got to stand on that spot
at 9:30 in the morning. I barely watched half of that thing a game. I'm like, no more London games.
Yeah, dude.
9:30 in the
We
morning.
say no more London games, but we have a London game coming up
we
this
do.
week, and we'll talk about that in a second. But so
Dan
far, we
Rod.
have injury, redemption, and safe.
What's
My
your
word
word?
of the week coming up next? But first and foremost, just want to shout out. So even though the Dallas Cowboys lost, your Texas Rangers have advanced, beat the Baltimore Orioles. They win 7-1 today, sweeping the Orioles.
Oh.
And they will go on to the ALCS. Maybe Houston or Minnesota is next. Houston up 2-1 in the series. They did win today. 2 finals already in the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won 5-3 over the Nashville Predators. And in his NHL debut, Connor Bedard did not hit the score sheet with a goal, but he did get an assist on the first goal for the Chicago Blackhawks. They came from 2-0 down to defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins on the road 4-2. So Connor Bedard gets his first
And they're
ever
raising the banner
NHL
right now.
point.
I want to throw that out there. I'm
They're
watching
raising the
now.
banner. So
Raising the
a
banner.
10:30 p.m. Eastern start, half an hour in, 36 minutes before that puck drop. They already delayed raising the banner in Las Vegas. That'll be your third of 3 games today in the NHL. But
Perfect
I said all
timing.
that to say this. Connor Bedard probably felt it. The Baltimore Orioles definitely felt it. Texas is going to feel it going into the NLCS. But pressure is what combines all of these things. And pressure is what I felt summed up week 5 in the NFL. Whether it was the pressure felt from certain teams with expectations going into games trying to win them, the pressure relieved off certain teams that had to win games, that did win those games, and the pressure teams are feeling whether they're at 5-0, 0-5, 1-4, 4-1, 3-2, 2-3. The pressure is now setting in on all of these teams as they head into week 6, and the standings start to take shape. So pressure, redemption, injury, and safe. Those are the 5 words we will recap week 5 with. And as we go to head into our final, as we look back on week 5 and head into week 6, remind everyone that we are live on Twitch at NFL_HQ_Twitch TV, YouTube at NFL HQ, Twitter or X at NFL_HQ_, as well as IG and Reddit at NFL HQ and NFL_HQ. But we go from week 5 to week 6 with our Bet or Sweet segment, where we will bring you one lock of the week and one underdog of the week. Remember, we're picking a lock, any team that we feel will win, and we guarantee it for entertainment purposes only. And our underdog of the week, a team that is not favored to win their game that we think will win outright, although if they cover, we will still call that a win in the books. With that, I will say I'm the worst picker, so never trust my picks. I lost both my lock and underdog a week ago. Baltimore not only did not cover the spread, they did not win the game at all. And the Tennessee Titans, although they were a dog on Tuesday when I picked them, ended up being a 2.5-point favorite that lost outright to the Colts last week. Brandon and AC both much better at this than I am. They were both correct on their lock and their underdog. They went against the NFL HQ curse, picking one of our teams, but they were successful in doing so. Brandon had the Dolphins minus 10.5. They beat the Giants. And his Texans, although they did not beat the Falcons, covered the 2.5 points that he got at the time that he picked the game. That was a 1 to 2.5 point game. He got them at 2.5, and they did cover that 2.5. AC had the Bengals getting right against the Cardinals. They were only a 3-point favorite on the road, and they won. And he had the Jags plus 5.5, who won outright against the Buffalo Bills in London. Dave went 1 for 2, so 50% better than I was. He had the Jets, who won as an underdog against the Denver Broncos. They won outright 31-21. However, he thought the Packers would win. They were a 2-point favorite when he picked them on Tuesday. He said guarantee it by at least 7. They not only didn't win by 7 or by 2, but they lost 17-13. What's interesting is he had the Packers at -2 when he picked them on Tuesday. They actually, on Monday when they kicked off, were a 1.5-point underdog. The Raiders, that line swung by 3.5 points by the time that game kicked off. So another interesting note to keep in mind, whether you pick a game right before kickoff or on a Tuesday, sometimes you can get a favorable betting line or sometimes a betting line that can sneak up and get you. Since I'm the worst picker and my picks are irrelevant, I'll go first this week. As mentioned, the Denver Broncos have lost 15 straight times to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are all about breaking records. They have their eyes set on the Miami Dolphins. They want to beat the Broncos 20 straight times. The best way to do that is to beat the Broncos 15 or 16 straight times. It's happening in 2 days from now. Even though they're a 10.5-point favorite at home, I will take the Chiefs minus 10.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. Hopefully Travis Kelce can play in that one. And for my underdog, I'm not sure where to go with this one, but I'll just, even though I think, Cincinnati was better last week, I'll take the Seahawks +3 on the road at Cincinnati. I don't fully believe Cincinnati is all the way back.
Okay, that goes that factor fiction, but yeah, it's completely. I understand. It's an ebb and flow, right? It's a personal matchup too. You gotta personally match up with the teams. It's not just a logo going against a logo. Those are people down there. So when you start matching up, I know you guys think that elf in the middle of the Browns field is a real elf, but he's not. He's just a cartoon.
Oh God, that's terrible.
I'm sorry. Dave, do you have your lock of the week?
Yeah, I have to go next because you guys, first off, we've been picking 4 weeks. AC, you've got 5 correct picks. Brandon, you've got 4, even though you haven't picked all the weeks. You've got 4 right, and me
All
and Dan
about
Rod have 3
quantity,
right.
not quality. No. So
No, I'm just saying, percentage-wise, you're better. And Dan Rod also hasn't picked. You guys didn't pick the first week, so technically, I'm the worst picker.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lock of the week. I have 2 underdog picks. So you decide which one's my lock.
Got it.
I have 2 underdog picks. My first underdog pick is absolutely going to be the Texans over the Saints.
You just picked out of a hat. You didn't even.
No, I did. I just
no analyzation.
I got this bag here full of football helmets, and I just picked. No, I'm just joking. Texans over the Saints. The Saints are favored by 1.5, is what I have.
That's
it
right.
looks like mostly across the board.
There. Yeah.
So, Texans. CJ Stroud looks good. Texans might outright win. They're going to outright win this game.
Okay.
So,
does Stroud throw a pick?
Not against Saints. No, we're fine.
Okay.
No, he's good for another week.
Okay.
Another week. Just one more week.
One more week.
And my second, so that's it. So I've got the Texans to beat the Saints. My second underdog pick is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to show up and beat the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions have been, Detroit should be favored by 3. I think Tampa Bay gets this done. Tampa Bay looks a lot better than I thought they have, especially going into the season. I think Tampa Bay wins this game also at home.
I like that coming back from a bye.
Or I'm sorry, it's at Detroit, isn't it?
No, I think it's at
Okay, all right.
Lions are a 3-point road favorite. So for intents and purposes here, we will give your lock of the week to the Houston Texans since they are the lesser of the 2 spreads.
Yeah.
So your lock of the week is Houston plus 1.5 at home against the Saints. And your underdog of the week, Tampa Bay, a home dog, 3 points.
I think it should be the opposite. It doesn't matter.
Well, too late. You didn't decide. You let us decide. And that's what we're deciding.
All right.
They're
both. I'm going to be right on both those.
Yeah.
Both underdogs are going to win.
Love it.
Brandon, let's go to you. Let's get your underdog and lock of the week so all the people watching now or the rest of this week can make their parlays and they can win money.
Well, this is what you do. You go to the bank, you take out the mortgage money, and you start putting on these bets right here. And
you mean these couple boxes?
It's funny because I won some money yesterday, but it's funny because I put my bets, my picks on different, and it's always like, why don't I just put them together? So off the bat, I just had my team. Give me 1 second here. There. I liked, and I was going to go against you a little bit. I did like the New Orleans a little bit just because I think if New Orleans is so close to Houston, I think there's going to be a lot of Saints fans in there, and I think it's going to feel a little like a thing. So that I kind of had a feeling about that one. Okay. But my lock, the Rams, at home. Against a very bad Cardinal team, and I don't know if you guys watch the game, but you get Puka and Cup together, they are going to shred that bad Cardinal secondary. So give up the 7. And then, the dog is a little tough for me. It's hard to kind of see there, but I would say this is, I do like Seattle, right? And so coming back from a bye, I think the Bagels are riding high, thinking everything's fixed. Teagan's is not coming back. That secondary with that rookie corner can play. And I think you get Geno right thing. And so I like Seahawks to plus the 3 and maybe even to definitely win outright.
Okay.
All right,
that was almost
underdog, which means that the Bengals definitely going to win this one unless AC otherwise. AC, wrap up the week with Better Sweet. Who are you liking to lock and or underdog victory?
Absolutely. All right. Can the game be one and the same?
I mean, why not?
Sure.
I'm thinking of it both ways here and follow my logic. First of all, I'm going to tell you that Dan, I was awake at 6:30 in the morning because I took a shower. I put on my Dolphins gear. I sat on my couch and I placed a bet. I placed a bet that Calvin Ridley and Stephon Diggs would catch over 5.5 receptions. And that
great.
Yeah. And
how'd you do? No, I know.
Yeah. About 150 up. Just and
nice.
it wasn't even game time yet. red zone was just humming. And but I was already paid, so I made some extra bets with the cash winnings, and didn't pan out. I did put a $60 bet on the on a 2 night that it's an over under, and that put me back up by about 150. So I lost a bit, but the whole day was about 150 up.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a good betting day, except for the middle portion. I will tell you that my favorite game of the week is the 49ers and Browns, and I believe that the 49ers do fall in this trap. The 49ers,
Wow.
yeah, the 49ers are going to fall in this trap because they have someone called Myles Garrett that is going to hurt. I'm not praying for this. I want to let you know that. I don't want this to happen. Brock Purdy's going to get hurt in this game.
It is that
Wow.
for some reason those Niners quarterbacks do get hurt.
Not losing a game that he starts and finishes continues because he will not finish.
Because he's going to get hurt.
I like the covering. I like the 5.5. I think they do cover.
Yeah, and that's that's my underdog and my lock of the week. Both, and because I'm looking at other and I love you guys. I don't agree with anything you said today. I keep looking at these games. I keep looking at these games, and I'm like, nothing's jumping out at me. I'm not sure if I'm going to bet a whole lot this week. It's one of those. Where I feel like I'm not getting the warm sensation.
Bad spreads. They're bad spreads.
They're bad spreads. I'll go out and say it. And these are all of them. You know, in all of Nevada and all of Vegas and everywhere, even places around the country like DraftKings, it's just not giving good stuff. So
you have the Browns at plus 5.5 at home because I see them at plus 6. So do you have anywhere where you can get them at plus 6, get that extra half point?
We can buy. You can buy the hook, and you can make it a plus 6. Yeah, it'll lower your percentage of money won, but you can safeguard yourself and do that in most betting apps. Check your local.
For our bookkeeping, you're taking them at 5.5.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the 5.5. Although Caesars, which I use, has 5.5, and then MGM has them at 6.
MGM is the only one I see using the 6. I think everybody else has 5.
Now, do you want any caveat on this? Do you want out of this if Deshaun Watson can't play?
Who's the backup in Cleveland?
DTR. You don't want none of that.
Oh, God.
He looks horrible against the Pittsburgh. He's just not ripe, and then you're gonna have him go against that defense. He's gonna get eaten alive. Watson scares me against that defense more or less.
Exactly. Yeah. So 2 great defenses going in. I will. How about this? I'll give you another caveat. I'm not sure what the over under is, but I would probably take the under in this game.
I think it's one of the lowest of the week.
Okay.
To be honest.
Lowest point total of the week.
37.5.
And it might go down.
I would agree.
I might buy up to 39 points if possible. My app allows me to buy up to 39 and make it safe, but I definitely under 39, and I'll even take 37.
AC, I'm glad you made that pick. Seriously, because we're going to catch you by next week.
Well, keep in mind for anybody listening, again, it's for entertainment purposes only, but this is the risk you run if you bet on a game on Tuesday. Sometimes you get a better line, you get better odds, and it might pan out in your favor. But if you are betting on a game where maybe you are making sure that Deshaun Watson plays in it, you want to bet closer to game time, knowing for fact that he is either in or out. And that line will probably change. Quarterbacks affect the line more than almost any other player when it comes to their status, whether they're playing or not in a game. So
for someone who bets every week, I can definitely tell you that there are ebbs and flows, and you don't want to just jump into everyone. It's fun to make a 10-teamer every week and all that kind of stuff. Keep your bets low and kind of survey the field. It's not every week is not jackpot day. Week 1, jackpot city. I won 4 parlays. That it was amazing. It was Christmas. It caught up to me week 4. Lost a bunch. So stay even, my friends and neighbors. Don't lose your mind.
And also too, there's a lot of bad spreads on it. Don't chase it. When you get to 5.5, 4s and stuff like that, you're chasing through the numbers.
1.5. Who bets that? You know what I mean? Colts Jags plus 4. Are you going to take the Jags minus 4?
Yeah.
They came off beating the Bills. They could shit the bed this week.
And also too, Tuesday numbers are usually pre-injury numbers, right? And so, but injuries change these numbers consistently, and so a lot of times too, these numbers are. Just because it's definitely the injury report hasn't even come out till usually about the full one about Wednesday, Thursday, and then you'll start seeing these numbers start really rotating. right now everybody's on questionable, questionable,
Yeah,
or
like
probable, right?
certain games. To your point, like the
Certain-
Ravens right now are a 4-point favorite on the road against the Titans. I mean, everything in my fiber of my being tells me the Ravens are better than 4 points against the Titans. But I don't know if I can trust the Baltimore Ravens, especially with how they've spurned me, and even the Titans have spurned me the other way whenever I picked against them. And then a team like the Raiders at home, 3-point favorite. The Patriots just played two of the worst games in Bill Belichick's history.
This
But
is when
a 3-point spread for the Raiders only.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
there
sorry.
something we don't know against Vegas? And the last time the Patriots were there, wasn't that the game that they threw it back
Yes.
and Mac Jones got
I
stiff
love
on?
that
Was that
game. Yeah,
Chandler? Was that Chandler Jones when he was
Chandler
playing?
Jones. Now he's in an insane asylum now, but yes, he
But-
can't play.
Like,
You, Josh McDaniels.
would you be surprised if the New England Patriots went into Las Vegas and won this game coming up this week?
No, not with the Jimmy
Nope.
G throw 3 picks, and also who knows? I think maybe Belichick knows how to coach against McDaniel, so he might do a little like teacher thing kind of and just kind of out coach him.
You said it earlier. You play a horrible game, you get beat by 30. You show up the next week, you're motivated.
Yeah, usually teams that lose by big numbers come back next week, and then usually teams that win by big numbers come down the next week, and so you'll see that kind of. And I think that was so embarrassing that Patriots scored 0 points.
And back-to-back weeks, right? Belichick gets embarrassed back-to-back
Yeah.
weeks. It's probably time to try.
And then also too, they're on a short week too. I always look at Monday night games. Those are kind of key things. They got a lot of key teams on buys, so
And now and on top of it, now the buy bonanza happens, and you leave your fantasy guys on there with 3 buys, and you get beat, and you're like, oh my god, I haven't checked my. This is when
Check your stuff.
Yeah, check your stuff, guys. Don't do this. Bet low. Check your fantasy. Don't get laughed out of the
I
building.
can see the Titans covering that too. I like that Titans game just
And keep
because.
in mind, the Titans Ravens is in London as well. That's not even a home game
Yeah.
for the Titans. They're playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So can
Yep.
the away team come in and win for the second straight time? Of course, the Jags.
They're both away teams.
But yeah.
I don't think Lamar's ever played out there either. Like his first time in London as well too. So
It's that damn jet lag.
yeah, I'd like to see how he performs on that nature. He doesn't.
Jet lag. They should get the Jets to go to London. Maybe they can get some jet lag. We'll see you
And
guys
then, of course,
tomorrow.
our primetime matchups in Week 6. So the Thursday night, the Broncos take on the Chiefs. So we will see what we can get from those two AFC West rivals. And then we have the Buffalo Bills and New York Giants on Sunday night. That could be an interesting one. We'll see if the Giants can perform admirably on primetime, or if Daniel Jones' primetime record once again takes a hit. And then on Monday night, the game that we've danced around, but my Dallas Cowboys once again in prime time, a better showing out there on the West Coast as they take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Their former offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Could it be a revenge game for Kellen Moore against the Cowboys on ABC Monday night? Packers and Steelers, the only 2 teams on a bye this week for you fantasy owners.
Oh, I like the Cowboys all day on that. All day. Coming back after that whooping. You come back from a whooping like that, you're going to be focused. And then it is. And then also, too, Staley's defense gives it up, man. Like, I got a feeling Cowboys do pretty good on Monday night, too. I think they I
Take.
think you put the kids to bed. I wouldn't take the Chargers to save my life. And you got to remember also, too, I guarantee you, bet bottom dollar, there's more Cowboy fans in that damn stadium than there's a Chargers fans that you're going to hear it. It's going to be loud.
Of course.
I think Chargers might have to go to a silent count in their own stadium.
Well, that happened to the Raiders on Monday night against the Packers. I think the Packers out the Raiders on that one.
Another hot take. You heard it here first, guys. Silent counts. The Cowboys are going to mop the floor.
Oh, it's going to feel like a home game.
Games everywhere. Bye weeks. We are living. We're getting into the meat of the season. Any final words, guys? We're going to wrap up the show.
I just want to know, we're talking about stadiums. How loud is it going to be in T-Mobile Arena right now as the Golden Knights are taking on the Kraken? Is that an all Golden Knights crowd or any Kraken fans?
On my way to do.
Man, Kraken over here.
That's why they got to go.
Look at that's our team right there, right? I don't know where he is on your screen, but that flag, that's us.
Oh, I got the game on. But you know what? It's one of those things where it's like, that's a local team. This is ours. They built it, born here. Vegas born.
Yep.
And we're not giving up the damn Stanley Cup. It's going to stay here for a while.
We'll see about. I think the Maple Leafs has something to say about that, or whoever.
Maple Leafs, they can't even get to the first round. No,
As the Canadian, I will say that the Toronto Maple Leafs are basically the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL.
Yeah. no Canada team wins Stanley Cups anymore.
Not
last
since
one was, like,
1993.
Montreal
The Montreal Canadiens, exactly, when they beat Wayne Gretzky and the cheating Los
Yeah,
Angeles Kings.
exactly. Like it's those days are done.
The cheating Los Angeles Kings. You heard it here first, guys. We uncover mysteries that you might have not known, which is cheating teams.
I think I brought up Deflategate earlier, so we're good. Last thing I want to say is, first off, it's always fun, and anybody who's listening or listening back, thanks for coming in to NFL HQ. AC, Brandon, Dan Rod, I pointed the wrong way that time. It doesn't matter. Always fun. Can't wait to see you guys next week. But AC, I will see you tomorrow night on, because I got to plug it, The Married Couple Podcast. How was your day? Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. On the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And our guest tomorrow is going to be AC. So, AC, join in. How was your day tomorrow night with me and my beautiful, lovely wife, Sam I Am.
My third time on. I am ecstatic.
Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
I'm going to bring all types of energy.
Good.
I think I might see my guy beforehand. That way I'll be really energized.
There you go.
No, but right after work, my desk is right behind me for work. I'm going to turn around and just start.
Sweet.
And we'll get some rum. And I will. Because I'll be dressed like a non-football fan.
Yes, I'll be dressed like this. All right.
Same background and everything.
Anyway,
everybody.
Hey, thanks everybody. See you guys later.
Brandon, Dave, I'm AC. Thank you so much. Let's put this up and let's say goodbye for real. Thank you everybody for being here. The shortest show turned into the longest show.
Man, this is the funnest time. Dropping gems, guys. Thank you for everything.
Make sure to subscribe, guys.
Yes.
If you're watching in the future.
And share to a friend.
Let us know how it is in the future. I'm really. Did we make it? Did we make it? Is it World War III? Go football.